Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another case study for the second rerun. Welcome, Braden.
How's it going?
Doing very well, brother. This is the second try doing this because I messed up the intro, candidly. But yeah, dude, I'm super pumped to have you on the channel. You got a very cool story. I think a lot of people will relate to your background because as we were talking about briefly before we started recording, a lot of people go through that same process of, as people would see in the title, being a college dropout or not wanting to pursue college in the way that most people, uh, I guess, encouraged to by their parents and teachers among the like. So, dude, I mean, at a very highlight for guys that before we go into the story, Braden, just so that we're super correct, was it 1.8K that you were making before you met me on the offer you're on to 10K in CAD? Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that was in 90 days, right?
3 months, tripled it, just over.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So yeah, Braden is absolutely crushing it, and doing super, super well. I wanted to really go into the nitty-gritty of the story and give you guys a lot of value so you guys can learn something. So, man, if we were going to start way back when, before we even met, like let's go all the way back to college because I think we're
Mhm.
both passionate about that. What
Mhm.
uh what was it like before you met me? What did you try and what were you doing? What were you studying?
Yeah, so I think the best place to start is like, just finishing high school. I was overweight, not in a great spot mentally, like just not confident at all. And then I knew that I wanted to do something a bit different. I knew that I wanted to like, take risks and try something different. And I'd been playing basketball, training that really hard. And then I kind of discovered the world of like self-improvement, self-development, and then online money, starting to get into that stuff, like looking into drop shipping, all that type of stuff. Didn't really have the confidence to, go pursue that fully. But I knew that my parents gave me the opportunity to like, just go to university, like they were going to pay for it. And that was a great thing. I just didn't really know what I wanted to study. I wasn't really like passionate about anything in university. So I was just like, okay, I'll just go. I'll see what that's like. And I'm gonna, play basketball in university. So drop 50 pounds to, train for basketball, get super hard into fitness, training like 2 to 4 hours a day, end up getting injured. So now
Mm,
tear something big in my back, completely fucked. And like I'm just at university, not really sure what to do. Don't really have like a path beyond that. So then end up just kind of messing around, party a lot, improve my social skills there. That was great. But I'm just like still like kind of like aimless there and like just like not enjoying school, not enjoying any of my classes, like just kind of feel like I'm there for the sake of being there. And then
mm,
heal the injury, try out for the basketball team, don't make it. So then I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? Like I just have no idea like really what I'm doing with my life. So then end up partying my face off for like a full calendar year. Like I'm talking like 4 to 5 days a week drinking was like pretty standard. Like because there was like any occasion we could just drink for and then end up again getting the social skills up, getting the confidence up there, getting some dating experience, that type of stuff. That's all good
mm,
and fun, but like it didn't make me happy, didn't make me feel good about like what I was doing. Like I didn't feel like purposeful. And so, like I said, like I've always felt like I wanted to do something a bit different. So then decide at the end of like a full year of partying and like trying different things, like I'm gonna try and be YouTuber. YouTube was like it's always been like my passion. Like I've been making like YouTube videos for like years pretty much and still to this day like I documented my whole sales journey like on YouTube and stuff like that. But
super cool. I had no
yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. YouTube was always my passion. I started out like making NBA commentaries and stuff like that. Some of my old friends will remember that, but
Yeah.
I went super hard into YouTube, quit drinking completely, like ended up like purchasing like YouTuber coaching stuff, was working 9 to 5 door-to-door sales job. That's kind of my friend just hooked me up with that. And you've worked door to door, right?
No, I actually haven't worked door to door personally, but tell me your first-hand experience. I know that could be interesting.
The worst job I've seen, I think I've ever had in my entire life. Like it was so hard because I'm selling like Wi-Fi and phone plans like to random
Yeah.
people's doors, and they're just telling me to fuck off, like slamming the doors in my face, yelling at me to get off their property, whatever. And
Yeah.
this is my first time selling something. So like I'm
Mm,
just like is good for experience, it's good for reps, but like I'm just like so bad at selling things. So end up hating that. YouTube thing's not really working out. My whole plan was like, kind of like fitness, like kind of dating avenue, but I'm not in the craziest shape, not some Casanova or anything like that. So just that's just not really an option. So then I had to figure out something
Mm,
else. And probably my lowest point was last summer because I injured my shoulder and
mm,
I was hating the door-to-door sales job and like fitness was kind of like that aim. So I'm like, I can't even train properly. Like I can't even do YouTube. Nothing's working. So then I'm like, I just need to find another way. I need to figure something out. So then I end up getting a different 9 to 5 sales job. That's kind of where like I actually started to take sales seriously, like kind of started to study it, listening to Andy Elliott and Jordan Belfort, like just kind of all those guys, just listening to whatever I could and then
yeah,
purchase some YouTuber coaching, go through
yeah,
that whole thing. But again, I'm 21. There's just only so
mm,
much you can talk about, like from self-improvement, past experience type of stuff.
yeah.
So
And I
then,
mean, to touch on that, I think that's really interesting that you mentioned that because you see that across the board, right? There's so many people who are trying to teach things that they're not very experienced at or have really done much at. And if I was going to kind of just add something to that, if I could, it's really interesting to see how long those businesses survive. Like it's very hard to teach something that you haven't done before. Is that
Mhm.
what you found across the board when you looked at a lot of people doing that, trying to do what you were going to attempt to do?
Yeah, because essentially it's just like it's trying to pull the carpet out from underneath
Mm,
the furniture that's on top of it because you're trying to, build a brand on like building a brand, like selling courses on how to sell a course. And then it ends up like some of these people online, like they don't really have any like real skills and they're just like trying to start YouTube. So
mm,
my lens was like, okay, document, don't iterate. Like just try and like start talking about things. So then I discover high ticket sales. I'm going hard at my like 9 to 5 sales job, end up with like some interviews here and there, like just not super into it. And then I end up like inadvertently networking, like just like making friends with guys. I was in the 10K accelerator, like that's where you the
oh, there you
professor
go.
were. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I did that and then met a bunch of cool guys from there. But that's kind of where I got into your sphere, like because I followed you on Instagram for like 4 months before like I even messaged you and like I even knew what high ticket sales was because
Yeah.
still big into the YouTube thing, still trying to make that work. But then my buddy gets me onto the offer that I'm on right now.
Mm.
So hard, like literally, like so fucking hard. Like I like just the way that it's pitched. Sales is like, oh,
Yeah.
3 to 5 calls days, like just back to the beach. It's like
Yeah.
it's the fucking opposite of that. It is the hardest thing that I've ever single-handedly done because like
Yeah.
decide to quit my 9 to 5 like stable job. Like they wanted me to become like a manager and stuff like that. So decide to quit that, go on my current offer. And then
Mm.
it's just like I'm just eating shit for like weeks and weeks and weeks. Like they're telling me like they might fire me, stuff like that. So then like not making any commissions. So then I'm like, okay, I need to figure some stuff out and take it seriously. So that's kind of when I messaged you. My friends were already in the RSA. They told really good things. So like, okay. So then I hopped on the call with you. It was like probably a 5 minute phone call. I asked you two questions of like, how does this help?
Yeah.
And like I was just like ready to go because I was just so fed up in the situation. And that's what I see a lot is with people that are successful in like your program and like pretty much any programs, like they
Yeah.
don't give a hard time on the sales calls. Like they're ready
Yeah.
to invest, they're ready to make a change. Because it's like, if you're not ready to do that, why the fuck are you on the call?
I
Like
completely agree, man. What were you selling before that though? Like what in that previous sales job?
it was still telecom, so it's like internet, phones, all that
Yeah.
type of stuff.
That's
They
such
actually
that's such a struggle.
they introduced a credit card, and I was actually like one of the best credit card salespeople like in the company, but it was just night and day with what high ticket sales actually was, and
Yeah.
it's completely different. But training with you regularly, networking, connecting, all
Yeah.
sales all the time for 3 months. Super hard. Like I'm just gonna preface that to anybody who's watching this who sees this. Sales is not easy. And making money online is not easy, but you can do it.
100%.
Like if you're just like ready to commit to it. But if you're looking for the easy way out, this is probably not for you.
Exactly. If you're soft and you don't have what it takes,
Yeah.
don't apply for a call because straight up, I will not help you. Like, I think a big reason a lot of people come to work with me is that we do kind of give it real and tell you how it is. Like it is not some, soft dream of, like you mentioned before, 3 to 5 calls a day. Like going from the transformation that you did would have taken literally everything, as I can imagine. I can give you the support and the guidance, but man, that 3 month period, obviously it would have been a lot worse before we started working together. But that 3 month period, that 90 days, like how hard were you working? Like how hard were you role playing, training? Like give us the source.
That was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah.
And like to this day, like sales, like I've talked to you before about this, is like sales is a mind fuck. It's a complete reflection of what you are internally. And like
Mm,
my issue was not like finding an offer or like, just even like getting my foot in the door. My issue was like sales skill and mindset surrounding that. And that's mainly what we worked on and what my like main bottleneck was. Cause like I had the good opportunity. I had the support and I had like the objection handling framework. I had the scripting. It's just like, what am I not believing? So then I had to do a lot of like internal reflection and like kind of like dissecting of my individual beliefs of like, why do I not believe that I can do this? Like the self-image was such a bottleneck for me and such a difficult thing to do. And, I was probably I've been taking like 6 to 12 calls a day with probably 1 to 2 days off a month and
mm-hmm.
training 5 to 6 days a week, like, or like training or networking, just talking with somebody about sales, like pretty much
Yeah.
once a day, every day for like 30 minutes to an hour. Sometimes that would be role playing, sometimes it would be scripting, sometimes it would just be like our group calls and stuff like that. But, just thinking about it all the time. And then I pivoted my YouTube to it. So like even like when I'm not taking sales calls or I'm not training, like I'm talking about it on my YouTube channel as well. So it's like my
Mm,
whole world was kind of like centered around it. And
mm.
then once you told me something like on the sales call, I was like, I've never seen somebody who's like truly had their back up against the wall fail. It's
Yeah.
like my back was up against the wall because like as soon as I invested, like I didn't have a ton of money left and I just needed to make this opportunity work or find something else that was gonna work for me. So I just gave it everything I had, training all the
Hmm.
time, like and then it just ended up working my favor because aggregation of marginal gains. What's up?
Obsession is truly what you need to be successful with anything in life, I believe. And why, we're crushing it with so many people is yes, I can give you the right skills, and yes, I'm, pretty good at what I do and I know a few things. It's very tied down to the person. And I think my content, my interviews, everything across the board, it just attracts a certain type of caliber of person because like you mentioned, over the past 90 days, it's literally required everything from you, like raw obsession. And some people, will come in and go, oh, well, I'm not crushing it. It's like, well, what are you doing? Like, what are you missing? What are you not doing? Because simple problems require simple solutions. And a lot of people like to overthink this, but you need to become the person to achieve the goals before you achieve them. And the 1K a month level version of you was not the 10K a month level version of you. You literally acted as the person you needed to become, and then reality caught up, right? That's
Yeah.
that's massive.
Yeah, one of the big keys, I know it sounds like kind of hokey, but like
Mm,
coupling visualization and like meditations like on what that version would actually be thinking and like how they would
mm,
be acting with the relentless action is what just one day like it just clicked. Like I remember I told you like my 1K day. That was just
mm.
like I literally visualized for 20 minutes before that all those calls and it just like immediately worked. It was so remarkably effective like just to visualize myself as the person becoming that person before taking the actions and it was so wildly accurate. And do you know a guy called Zach Prograb? You ever heard of him?
No.
He's pretty big on social media. He talks a lot about obsession and like that's like his main word that he's talking about. And it's like it's literally like it encapsulates you. Like it's, and I think a lot of people that are attracted to your types of videos, which are just like, long form, unedited, like it's not fast paced, it's not quick. It's like you just give the truth. It's like those are the types of people that are going to be obsessive about like actually getting better, and they're actually going to see the results. And like you said, it's simple. Whatever you do is fucking simple. It's hard, but it's simple. It's like if you want to get better at sales, take more sales calls. If you want to get better
Yeah.
at objections, handle more objections. If you want to get better at playing the guitar, practice more. If you want to get in shape, lift weights, eat clean, do it for a long enough time. It's like shit's simple. It's just
Mm,
hard to stick to it because people get bored.
yeah.
And sales is not for the faint of heart. It's
Absolutely
very,
not.
very difficult. And
Yeah.
I put myself in a situation, everyone advised me against dropping out, and especially some people that I knew that were working in sales, like life insurance type shit, is like sales is hard. Like this is not the type of thing that's gonna be easy for you. Just so that you know, don't think that this is going to be easy. It's so
Mm,
true.
yeah. And the thing you mentioned before that I mentioned to you on our sales call together, um, more of like an onboarding call, probably call it that.
Pretty much.
Um, I generally did mean that because when you put your back against the wall, in my entire lifetime, I'm very young, I'm only 23,
Mhm.
but I've never seen somebody fail. And like I genuinely mean someone who's all in. When someone actually has to, I think Andrew Tate had a really good example of this. No matter what you think of him, the idea makes a whole lot of sense. When a man has to roll a six, that's a different type of mentality. Different type of mentality. It's not like I have to roll a six. I need a six. I want a six. I hope I get a six. When you're in a mindset and a perspective that you have to make a six, you have to roll a six, that's when you play the game quite a bit differently. And I'm sure you've probably experienced that as opposed to things you've done in the past. It's like, well, maybe it's good if it works out, or maybe it's all right. But when you put the money down, you invested with a mentor, and you're like, I have to make this work. It's a totally different mode of mentality. It's an all-in mentality.
Yeah, yeah. I'm good friends with Jack Orman, who's also a big fan of like burning
Yeah.
the boats. And he's done it to a different degree as well as
Mm.
like just putting everything on the line so that you need to make something work. So for
Yeah.
me, that came like quitting my job, quitting my 9 to 5 safe, stable sales job. Because like I know some people who are trying to get into high ticket sales, they'll still keep their other job and then they'll like slowly get into it. Yes, that would be less stressful for you, but if you want to make results, if you want to see results fast, you have to put yourself under huge amounts of stress. And
Hmm.
maybe that's a masochistic mentality and it's just like stupid, but like I feel like that's the way that I've found that I've been able to get the best results is like putting myself in situations where, like you said, I just need to roll a six. So dropping out, quitting my other job, investing money, I need to make this work. And I did.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
again, it takes everything. And like
Yeah.
whether that is starting an agency, copywriting, crypto, starting your own business, whatever it is, YouTube even, it's like it has to become like an obsessive degree. And I kind of like the way that I just framed it is like this is my hero's journey, and I'm obsessed with like the hero's journey, like story arcs and shit like that. I
Mm.
love all that shit. It's like that makes it interesting. That makes your life interesting because life is so it can be so boring and so easy if you want it to be now. But that this is your time. This is like your fucking Rocky montage if you want it to be, if you allow it to be, and just allow it to take you over.
Absolutely. I think while you're young, it's one of the best things you can do. Take a risk because it's
Yeah.
like, and for someone who's a little bit older listening to this, you still can do this. Depends on your conditions and what's involved, your responsibilities. But majority of the people that watch my channel are on the younger side. The late 20s, early 20s, and the teens. And my advice to somebody who might be watching this, if you're especially on the younger side, as you get older, you get more responsibilities. It becomes more difficult, right? You have a family, you have a partner, you might have kids that you're taking care of, you might have a mortgage, you have debt, you have a ton more responsibilities. You can fail when you are younger, right? This is the time to not play it safe. This is the time to take risks. Because if you don't, the older that you get, the more responsibility you take on, the more difficult things can get. You look at Jack, for example, taking big risks as well, as a lot of my clients do. It's necessary. It's the time to do so. Like when I first got started as well, like I wasn't back against the wall, but I felt like it because spending $7,500 on a mentor is no light sum of money when you're an 18-year-old. That's a lot of money, right?
No, that's a big thing that you just said. Sorry to interrupt, but like you
Mm.
felt like that. You have to frame yourself in a certain way
Yeah.
as like, if I don't do this, if I don't do X, I will die. It's like sometimes like,
Mm.
you're on bench press or like you're trying to run or certain things. It's like, if I don't do this, like you have to make some scenario up in your head, and even if that's like delusional, or some people would call it absurd or obsessive or
Mm.
insane, whatever word you want to use, that is what is required, and that will still get you the result.
Absolutely. And that's a very good differentiation there. It can either be real or it can be conditional. So you
Mhm.
can make up that up in your mind, or you can, if you do not believe you can put yourself in that headspace and that mindset and that perspective, then you're going to have reality catch up to you so that you can have that push you. Because like you just mentioned, it was more conditional. My way of thinking was that I had to make it work regardless. I was all in, right? I wasn't, back against the wall. I'm not going to be homeless. I just turned 19 when it was about a month after I invested. So, I'm working a cushy job. I'm fine in retail. I'm not going to die. But I felt that way. And that's ultimately what matters. You mentioned a little bit earlier about how personal development ties into sales, and I wanted to touch on that because I think a very big reason why a lot of people don't enjoy sales is because it is the most haunting universal mirror that you can experience. If you do not show up from a fitness perspective, if you have a unhealthy, negative mind, you will see that reflected back to you on sales calls every single day. And it's like a haunting reminder because, again, who you are and who you show up as is what you'll get, and you get that reflected back to you. And every single day you get on calls, it's not just that you're not closing people, it's literally like you're seeing the harsh truths of yourself in another person. And it's a weird way to explain it, but it's a very interesting like universal mirror that you kind of just see of, again, having to confront the negative parts of yourself. And I think it's probably one of the biggest and best modes of personal development accelerated than anything else you can find out there next to business.
I 100% agree with you because like I've been listening to this one guy. His name's John Mark Stevenson on YouTube. He's a big fitness guy. You know him?
No,
No. Well, he says like your level of income cannot supersede your level of personal development. So like
absolutely. Yeah.
you you will only make as much money. I think self-image ties huge into this, is like how good you feel about yourself. Because like when I was starting out on my offer, it's like I'm seeing like in the other person's eyes, like you're a fucking bitch. Like you said, it's just like it's just a mirror into your own soul. Like it just reflects everything that you think about yourself, and everything comes to light, especially like when things are on the line. So you almost have to like destroy that old version of yourself, and like kind of like I was literally like writing out like objection handling myself on like certain beliefs and self-image and critiques and what I thought about myself, because that is what was required to start seeing closes, because that was the reflection of like what I actually felt about myself. Because like I'm of the
Mm.
opinion like you get to a level of personal development where like meditating for 5 minutes is easy, like going to the gym is easy, like just doing certain things, like they just become habit, they become normal. So then the next level is kind of like looking into like what you actually believe, and that's where I think like there's like tier one. There's like basic gym, meditate, like journal every now and again. And then there's tier two, is like starting your own business, like getting into sales or, some high income skill. And that is kind of where you see what you actually believe about yourself. That's you kind of see what kind of person you actually are, because you're put to the fire, and then it just kind of illuminates like what you actually believe about yourself.
Absolutely. And when we first started working together, what do you think have been the biggest or major changes? Because that's a significant income bump. That's, 3x. What
Mhm.
like what do you think were the biggest changes that you think that we did together that basically led towards a result that you had? It was personal development was one thing, but I guess was there anything else specifically that you could map out that was like, okay, this is what I changed and that was what helped?
Yes, you have a very structured idea that can apply to a lot of different offers, and your framework can just kind of like be copy pasted into a lot of different things. So it's like really most sales conversations are like five major questions that and like five key points that you need to hit. And then most objections are based off of one key framework that kind of stems into a few other ones. So it's just like memorizing that, understanding that, having that to lean on so that you're not just freeballing it. You're not going off of like the script that they gave you that might not necessarily be actually good. It's like this is like a trial tested framework on many different offers that works for people. And then the accountability and like training. Like that was a big deal because like you checked me a few times. It was like dude, like what are you doing? Like just like to have someone critique you and actually go in on some of your skills is like such a valuable thing. And then what pisses me off about people that like get into programs or like invest in things is like just
Yeah.
show up to the calls, try and like open your ears. Like just listen. Just like that's what you're here to fucking do is like listen,
Mm,
be critiqued. Then another big element was like having the community, like having people to talk to. Everyone that I reached out to or reached out to me been amazing. Like I've made some great friends like through the community and like just when you have access to these communities, especially ones that are active, where like the leader is like actually engaging with people, talk
yeah.
to other fucking people that are just as committed to you as like the craft. Just talk about what you're doing. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And it's
Mm,
just like it was amazing to reach out to people, made a lot of good friends, a lot of good connections. I'm sure like you can call it networking. I'm sure that that would lead to opportunities in the future, but like I see that
mm,
most networking is just like making friends. That's
100%.
what I saw the biggest changes.
Amazing. No, I'm glad to hear all that positive feedback. Yeah, a big thing is really the community, right? It's super important element to everything because when in the community that I was a part of or involved in, it's like 150 people in there. I think that particular individual coach slash mentor of mine, he's had over 500 students in there. And I know at least, on one hand, including myself, the amount of people that are still in the industry.
Mhm.
Craziness. Like three people, four people, including myself, out of like 500 people. Insane. But the reason I mentioned that is there was such a lack of community aspect, and quality people too. Because again, like I don't just accept anybody in the RSA, and a lot of people think that's marketing BS, but generally, like I've turned away at least two people this week. Whether it's what something they said in the form or was on the call. Like if I don't think that you're going to suit the community and I don't think you're going to get results, I will actively turn you away because I want to make sure that the community upholds its standard and it's good quality. And of course, people get results because if I put in people who aren't going to get results and I just take their money, well, it's going to reflect pretty poorly on me. Even though I'll know because you can kind of get this stuff as well. Like you can speak to a person and sometimes it's maybe a bit wrong to make these assumptions, but sometimes you can just tell somebody's not right and ready to do this type of thing. Mental headspace, maybe they're too new, bunch of other different things. Also, how open they are to collaborate, how open they are to learn, show up and be coached is like a really, really important element I found. But yeah, I'm glad the community has been massively valued for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Massive,
no,
massive.
I like what you do, like, because it you just care. You just like touch base with people. You actually like engage on the calls, which is like it's
Crazy, right?
just nice. Yeah, it's just nice to have that. And like you could probably, close a lot more people like if you just fucking let the floodgates loose or whatever. But like that would also like just reduce the quality of the community and the quality of people that are in it, and people wouldn't get as good of results. So
Mm,
yeah, like you said, like communities with like 500 people or whatever, like yeah, I'm sure that the business owner is making a lot more money doing that, but the quality and the results that you actually get is like it's almost like sacred. It's like keeping it kind of small, keeping it engaged, because then you can actually like form like real relationships with people. And like I said, everyone that I've engaged with, like I can just tell that they're about their shit. Like I can just tell that they're going to see results because they're
Mm,
willing to put themselves in situations. They work hard. They they had pretty similar stories to me with some of the friends that I've made is like and they got on the call with you for 4 minutes and then like they're just like ready to go because then they're these are
yeah.
the people that are actually going to make changes.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the way I've designed the business, right? People watch videos like this and they know the person they need to be so that they can be a great client and they can get great results. That's the whole purpose of this long format content. So they know how to be like yourself and like Jack and all the other case studies in the channel.
Mhm.
How how's your life changed, man? Because it's a pretty dramatic difference going from studying in college to drinking almost every single day of the week to being completely lost with what you're doing to working some sales jobs that weren't as favorable. You didn't enjoy them much, door to door and, telecommunications, things like that. How dramatic of a difference is your lifestyle now? You work hard, like you still continue to do that, right? But how has dramatic of a difference has it been the lifestyle, what you get to do? Talking about your trip to Japan recently as well. You booked, way long time ago. Like, and you've talked about plans as well before we started recording about traveling and working and things like that. Like, how's your worldview change? What looks different?
I'll put it this way. I had to become like an adult pretty much overnight because like I had been a kid like for my entire life taken care of. And then as soon as I dropped out of uni, like my parents were like, okay, it's time to get a job, pay your own bills. Like if you still want to live away from home, you can do that. So I chose to just get a job, start paying my own bills. And immediately that put me in a frame of mind of like, okay, I can't fuck around anymore. Like I can't just,
Mm,
get drunk 6 days a week. I could, but it would put me in a pretty tough financial situation. Like I have to be more responsible with my time. So immediately I went from sleeping in until 11 a.m., hungover, like just messing around like all day with my friends or like my girl at that time, like just kind of going to class or skipping class. Like immediately, world changed. Like 5 a.m., hit the gym, go to work, work on side hustle after work. That was my life for pretty much the past year. And still to this day, like I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, like just I'm gonna go run after this. Like it's just like my life, my frame completely changed. And then as the money comes in, I made a new budget and it came from like Richest Man in Babylon. And I'd like to
yeah.
get your opinion on this. I think you'd like the spread. It's like 10% just like goes away, saved, live off of 20% income, and then
Mm.
30% reinvested into yourself into making more money, 30% tax for now, and
Mhm.
then 10% fun. And it's
Yeah.
like 10K a month, like $2,000 a month for living expenses doesn't go terribly far. So it's like I still have to be a lot more responsible and like, kind of commit to that. And then that's kind of why I want to go overseas and like travel Asia more. Just went to Japan for viewers that don't know for a few weeks, just with some friends. Great trip. But I want to go to like Thailand or Bali and like just kind of work, keep living expenses low, stack money, have that digital nomad lifestyle, just like just kind of buckle down for the next couple of years. Because it's like immediately from student to working, your
Mm.
mind completely changes because no longer are you just fucking around. You can't just waste your time anymore.
Yeah. I mean, how freeing is that thinking though that you're like, well, I could just go to Thailand and Bali and just work there and I could literally make money by living in like a tropical island destination location. Like how much of do like because it's such a crazy concept to most people. And because it is ridiculous. Like you're literally living in someone's holiday as your life. Long story
Mm.
short, you have the ability to do that now. Like how much of like a freeing feeling is that to know that next 30, 60 days, if you wanted to, you could just pick up all your stuff, sell all your shit, and you could just go travel the world. Like how good of a feeling is that?
So fucking good because like I couldn't imagine like any other way because like right now like I'm just in my hometown like visiting my family. It's like I couldn't even do that. Like I couldn't even go like 2 hours away and just like stay with my family for a little bit of time. Like I couldn't just go travel to where I want to and like I went to the States a few months ago and it's like I was working while I was there and it's like to be making money while you're traveling, so weird. So
Mm,
fucking weird. And like to have it be like a cool life experience, like you said, like living a holiday is like what else would you be doing? So that's why it's like it's so worth the suffering to like
mm,
get through to the other side. It's like, bro, like I can't go back to school. I can't go back to the day job. Can't go back to being tied down to one location because I think I saw a YouTube video of yours a little while ago. It was like freedom is always the goal or
mm.
something along those lines. And it's like that's what we do this for. And that's what we're trying to do. Like when we become business owners or try to make money online, it's like you want to have time freedom, location freedom, and just like, be able to do whatever the fuck you want. And that's like really it's always been my philosophy. I've always hated being controlled or tied down or told what to do. Like that was always such a difficult thing for me to overcome and still haven't overcome it. And fuck that.
Yeah, no,
But yeah.
it's like the red pill of making money online. It's like once you've taken it, you can't unsee it, and
Mhm.
it's near impossible to go back. I would do, I'd stop at nothing to, if I went back to zero, I'd do anything I could possibly do to get back in this space because, man, you were touching a different reality that very few people get to live, and it's only very recently that that's been possible. The internet world, specifically internet money, has not been around for a long time. Like it's 2024, the time of this recording. So like it's not really been around for a huge time and it's so new and that's why so many people reject it because it's so unknown and uncomfortable and it's very different to the traditional pathway. And I think once you make that first dollar and you start to get some consistency, there's no way that you ever want to go back because you relinquish that control that you once had. You relinquish that geographical freedom, that time freedom, right? You now have an actual boss that you have to report to. Like going back to like your old sales jobs would be like living hell.
Yeah, yeah, because there was actually like such a pivotal point is like in my 9 to 5, like they were like, okay, we can make you a manager in the next like couple weeks, but what
Mm,
that would require is like obviously big salary bump, but now I would have to commute to work for 40 minutes per day. I would have to take on a lot more responsibility. I'd have to eat shit from, the higher ups and whatever. And I saw that the other path of like maybe I don't know what's going to happen with high ticket sales, but like at least I know that it's not golden handcuffs forever. Like because
um,
I know like once you go that route, like a lot of people will take that immediate quick money like with their jobs that they're working, but like you're kind of committed to that lifestyle forever and you don't have location freedom, you don't have time freedom. Someone has to tell you what to do, bitch at you all the time. You just have to take it. And I just
mm,
like couldn't live with that. So then I'd rather take no money for a few months, like have that extra stress. I would do that a million times over again rather than, go this direction. And if it didn't work out with the offer, if they fired me or whatever, like I couldn't figure it out, it's like I'd find something else. I would just make something else work because it's like, I can't go that route. And there's certain offers that are like slave offers where it's just like, you're dialing for 14
yeah.
hours a day and like you barely get paid. And then that's where you want to not be in those types of situations because it's like those are golden handcuffs too. It's like you don't have time freedom, you don't have location freedom, any of the purpose of like actually getting into this stuff.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most liberating feelings across the board, I don't really know anything else like it. I mean, copywriting, not really. Like, really, just there is no skill that can come close to having a very good foundational base you can go back to in terms of sales. In the meaning being, if you actually get good at the skill, you know how to navigate the industry, you know how to sell, you could be placed in any country, anywhere in the world. Maybe you're in some developing country and you're back at zero, you're literally homeless. If you worked to get enough dollars to get a laptop or a phone, you legitimately could print money out of thin air. Like if you know how to sell, you know how to navigate, you know how to network, you know how to personal brand, whatever, you know how to get good jobs, you know how to interview, you know how to screen. you're literally placed in a position where you are forever sorted. When I started my agency, for some reason, I don't know why I decided to do that, but we live and we learn. Uh, I was back against the wall with that. And I had to make it work. I had 3 months left of savings left. And the thing is, sure, I would have been back to zero. I would have had to move back to my parents' place. But the worst case scenario is most people's best case scenario, which is move back home with my parents, generate 10K in my bank account within my first or second month in sales, and then I'm back on my feet again. It's like, where can you find a skill that enables you to just spawn money out of thin air that you're always going to lean back on? There's very, very few that can do that.
That's literally what I said to myself was like, what's the
Mm,
worst case scenario? I go broke and then I move in with my parents and then I just work for a couple months and then I build up a base again. It's like whenever you're faced with those big decisions, like just look at the worst case scenario. Can you live with it? Like, are you gonna die? Really?
mm,
Like just take the fucking risk. Like it's not that bad. And sales is there's such a low barrier to entry. And like especially like getting into like door to door and like retail, like I know why there is such a low barrier to entry because it's hard, because it sucks.
mm.
And but if you can get good at it, then you can print money. Then you can do those 3 to 5 calls like on the beach. It's just like they just don't tell you about the 6 months to a year where you just suck, where it's just hard, where you just eat
Yeah,
shit. But if you
yeah.
can deal with that, if you can make it through that, world's your oyster.
Did you ever think about quitting?
Quitting sales.
Yeah, like during this whole time, like high ticket sales specifically.
My first day, like literally my first day, I was like, this is so hard, bro. This is so fucking hard. Like that first week to to know that the manager job was like still on the table, like
Yeah.
and to like just be eating shit over and over and over again. I wanted to quit so bad, so many times. And then like months leading into that, I was like, okay, this is now my only option. My parents were kind of like they didn't really get it. They were like why are you putting yourself in this stressful situation? I'm like, I have to frame it in this way in my head to like to make it work in order to make this happen. So it was
Mm,
like, fuck yeah, I wanted to quit, but like just couldn't let myself do it. And then also documenting on YouTube was a big
mm.
accountability thing. It's like you can go back on my YouTube channel and just like watch me in my first month just like head in my hands like on my fucking desk like bitching about like why I wasn't making sales, but it was just me. It was literally just me and then going through that discovery into that. I think that that's also a mistake to not personal brand to not document your journey because it's
Mm.
like if nothing else, it keeps you accountable and makes you reminds you that people are watching and people are depending on you to like make this work, which again forces you to make more of a change.
Absolutely. I mean, besides personal branding, like what do you think over the last couple of months have been your biggest learnings across the board?
I think that the realization that you can make someone give you like multiple thousands of dollars from like a 15-minute conversation and like
Yeah.
connecting with them the right way is like so weird. It's such like a wild thing. It's like, why would I ever work minimum wage again? It's like, why would I ever go back? Why would I not tell other people to do this?
Mm.
It's that's a huge thing, and that mystical Wi-Fi money is real. That's another realization, and that everything is systems. Everything is like broken down and can be put into a framework, and then if you just follow the fucking framework, then like over time it starts to work.
I think it's a really important thing I want to touch on there, which is I guess the element of exposure, which is a really, really interesting thing. For a lot of you that might be watching this, you may have never met a millionaire in your life. You may have never met someone that's made money online, right? You may have not met anyone that's achieved what you want to achieve, but the moment that you do, that is when it starts to become real. When you are put in the position where you can be in close proximity to someone who has achieved what you want to achieve, and you realize that they literally just like me and Braden. There's no difference, like you, right? They're just human, right? What I find is a lot of people, just as I did, I was a lot younger, put successful people on a massive pedestal and think that they never had problems, or they don't have problems, or they've never made mistakes, or they've never felt fear in their life. This what we put this constant this barrier, this protection on people. But when you get put in that position where you see thousands of dollars changing hands between one person and one person, you're like, wow, this is so easy. Like, well, not so easy, but like comparatively what you might have thought about it or the perception you had about it before, it shatters your entire worldview. And, even a step above that, it's like when you, which I want to talk about your goals here in a second, but now you have the ability to travel. You can travel and work. You can go to Bali. You can go to Thailand, and you can go really anywhere you want. And you can network with super high level caliber individuals. You can get exposed to millionaires, multimillionaires, guys that have done tens of millions of dollars online, right? This is what high ticket sales is a skill, in my belief. It's why it's so important, is because it gets you into those rooms. And when you've learned sales as a skill, that is the one thing that you can walk to any room and be valuable to a business owner every time, right? It doesn't matter how experienced they are, everybody's always going to want to improve their sales, because even just a marginal increase can make that person a lot of money. So a lot of things to unpack there. Exposure, high ticket sales give you the ability to be valuable in the marketplace and meet new people. But again, just seeing, touching, feeling, hearing people doing the stuff that you want to do that you think is so crazy, impossible, out of your worldview, it makes a massive difference. Because when you just realize, again, so I try to normalize myself as much as possible. Like I'm not some grand guy that has, is super special or brilliant or smart. Like I am just like everybody else, because the more that I do that, the more that I normalize it, people will then really understand that there is no magic trick to this. It's just hard work, dedication, and commitment, which is what you've displayed across your journey.
I'm sure that you see that a lot, like moving from like your hometown to like Dubai is like
Yeah,
you can just talk to multimillionaires, like
yeah,
some probably you've met some billionaires, I bet. It's just
mm,
like you see that they're not that different. They probably make 1,000 mistakes a day just like you do. It's like they probably just optimize a few things and they're not that far off. But it just like it kind of opens your worldview, like getting into communities and like getting into programs, stuff like that. You see that like you're not that far away. It's like you're probably just 1,000 hours away, or like,
mm,
a few good months away from like getting 60% of the way there. And then, another 6 months to get 80% of the way there. And then it's just like you can bridge the gap, but like so many people have these limiting beliefs of like, oh, I can't do this, all that type of shit. That's why I want to document on YouTube, and I like what you do is like you document on YouTube because you can go back to Iman Ghazi and watch him 6 years ago when he's 16, like just like, oh, I closed my first client. It's like just seeing that type of shit is so valuable of like other people, and then just like watching them develop over time. So like just having that digital backing of like, I did this. I'm not fucking special. Like this is not that crazy. Just like try. It's just like
mm,
having that and then being able to teach that to other people is like astronomically valuable.
absolutely. And that's why I love giving back. That's why I love doing this as a whole. But man, so you've achieved some massive goals. Like, what are your goals from here? What do you want to achieve over the next year? Like, what are you looking to do?
So keep scaling. Tripling it again would be a great goal in the next 3 to 6 months. So I still have yet to cross into that 10K per month USD marker, and that's still a big goal for me.
Mm,
I told my parents that I'd break my sobriety. It's been like over a year, so I'd have some wine with them like once I hit that marker. So that's going to be a big deal to hit that. And then looking to keep scaling either on my current offer or like, just develop my skills more and like potentially find different offers, like that type of stuff. Just keep scaling up, and then fitness, huge goal from there. And then like in September, hopefully be ripped and making good money, steady to move to Asia, be out
mm.
there for a little bit of time, and then explore some different countries, maybe Australia or Europe or Thailand, Bali, of course, but
Mm.
just kind of live that digital nomad lifestyle, and then from there, potentially look at building my own business and personal brand out of that.
That's super exciting, man. And it's something I'll be helping you with in the inner circle
Yeah.
promo. But yeah, the that's really cool, man. That's super exciting. And speaking of your family, what do your parents think about this? What does your family think about all this? Like, what's their take on it?
Initially, they were like a little bit skeptical and just kind of concerned of like, why are you doing this? What
Mm,
are you doing? Like, because like they come from the generation of like, my dad had his first house when he was 21 years old. He picked up a mortgage and he had
mm,
like a stable, amazing job like in our hometown. And like both my parents worked mainly for one company for 30 years.
mm,
And like just 9 to 5, like go to school, get a good job. My sister kind of followed like that perfect path of like, job, degree, that type of stuff. And then I was kind of like the went off on my own type of thing and initially very skeptical, but in the past 3 months they were so supportive. Like they would just like they knew that I was struggling like mentally, like
mm,
just having like under stressful situations. So they would just check in on me, like support me a ton. Like I honestly can't thank my parents enough. Like they're amazing people and like I wanna give back and like kind of like share the wealth with them because like they've just been like with me the whole time. And I know a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to have that sometimes, but my
mm.
parents are fantastic. My family's amazing. I can't complain. And got a great friend group too. It's like they've all been supportive. But when people like criticize me or they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You don't have to do it. Like this is just my path. This is the way that I want to
Mm.
go. I want to be able to have that time freedom, kitchen freedom, because I see people like you, I see people like Jack. Like it's just like when you're around it, you know that it's possible. So then you just tune out the noise around you of
Mm.
like, call them haters, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's like just people that criticize you or don't understand it or have a closed mind. It's like doesn't matter. It really doesn't
I
matter.
think I think it's the same thing I always say. I've heard this multiple times from different people, which is you can't listen to people who are not where you want to be.
Yeah.
It makes literally zero sense. They have zero understanding of the reality that you're trying to build. And when you're trying to get in high ticket sales, it's just the same as building a business without the team and all the other complexities of it. You are still pursuing something and creating something that doesn't exist. You're doing something that hasn't been done before, right? So you will have people that doubt you. You will have people that might cast a shadow here and there. It's good you've got a good supportive family and friends and things like that. But um, yeah, it's just not going to be that way. It's just
Yeah.
the way it is, right?
Really,
Usually,
really it comes down to you. Yeah.
yeah,
Comes down to you.
absolutely.
And like you said, like you wouldn't listen to a fat personal trainer.
No,
So
no, you would not.
yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I that's a great, yep, that's a good little sales analogy right there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So how would you describe the training program, the RSA, like the structure to someone who isn't in there? Like, what does it look like? What was your experience going through it?
Yeah, so basically there's three major components I'd say is like the asynchronous stuff, which is just like great frameworks, like develop those, understand those, like lay that foundation. And then there's the weekly calls, which is just like if you want to be successful, you must show up to the calls because like that's where you actually get like real access to Connor, to other people like myself who are like handling objections that you can. I was learning from people who were ahead of me initially, and then as I developed, like people are learning from me and then they're messaging me after and stuff like that. So it's like the training, like the actual just like practice of it, that's where you hone in those skills, those foundational skills that are built in the asynchronous stuff. And then lastly is then like the network, the community of like just actually interacting with other people that are within the group. So either like you reaching out to people or like people reaching out to you because they see you on the calls, they see you working and stuff like that. It's like those are the three most important components and like all together will set you up for success if you just follow the system and just like, suffer through the pain of like not knowing what's going to happen for a little while and just like
Mm,
getting on the other side, then you come out like quite a bit on top. is what I've seen.
What would your feedback be after going through the training? Like, what would your feedback be after going through the training and everything involved? Like being a part of the community, like you mentioned, has been valuable. Like, what would your main feedback be, do you think?
Like criticism or
Yeah, or just
just
like
just there's general
yeah, general, like
perspective.
what did you think about it? Like,
It's been fucking amazing so far. That's why I was so eager to get into the inner circle. So because it
mm,
was like, let's just keep scaling, keep leveling up. Because like immediately, like as that money's coming back in, I'm a big believer in like reinvesting in yourself and like just like kind of doubling down on red on the things that work, and then
mhm,
just like keep riding that train until you get where you want to be. But overall, people that I've met have been amazing. That's like I've just genuinely like built friendships like through the community, and that's such a cool thing to see, like people on a
mhm,
similar trajectory. Because like I'm in my hometown right now, it's like not too many people in my hometown are going to be on a similar path, and that's not me coming from a disrespectful lens. Like they can do whatever they want to do. It's just like not many people will be in a similar situation because they're mostly in school or working. Like so they just don't really relate. But when you can get around people who are like you and you're around them all the time and you're training with them and you're following frameworks that work, then like just it's so elite. I think that we have the biggest opportunity. The internet is either the biggest asset or liability to your life. It just depends how you
mm,
make it. So it's like you can either be scrolling all day or you can be, posting content, making money, meeting cool people, just however the fuck you want to use it. Yeah.
I think that's some great takeaways. I would strongly agree on that. And I mean, you probably in your time, maybe you haven't, maybe you did, but uh, you probably would have seen there's probably a lot of sales training programs out there. There's a ton of people talking about this stuff all the time. What do you feel would be the major differences between the RSA and what you've seen across the board?
I think engagement and quality overall. So like you're actually like engaged with people. Like I've seen posts on your story of like you reaching out to people who you've had in the program for like 6 months now and like you just haven't heard from them in a while. So like that's rare for a leader to do that.
Mm,
And like people are actually engaged. So they respond quite often. And there's so many shitty school communities out there and like so many like, $197 sales training programs that just, get people conversions. It's just like a lot of the information is already known. It's just like, how can you apply it and then do it over time? And then again, quality of people. Like you said, like you keep the cap on who you let in pretty, pretty tight. So it's like if you're on a sales call with them and you don't like them that much, or like you don't think that they're about it, then you'll probably just kill the sale, right? So it's
mm,
like you just keep a high bar, and I think that keeps the community at a high bar, and that's why there's so many success stories and like so many high performers in the community. Because like several people that I know and I've made friends with are like hitting their first or have hit their first like 10K months, and it's like it's so cool to see because like
mm.
you just want to see winners, and it's just like being around winners is just it's so motivating.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good for exposure across the board, I think. And unless it's not completely already obvious, how likely would you say that you would be, recommending the RSA to somebody that's kind of looking to get into the space? Like, what would you say to somebody who's kind of sitting on the fence right now, do you think?
If they're sitting on the fence, don't fucking do it because you got to be all in. That's what I would say. But like
Mm,
if they're about it, if they're like really committed to changing their lives, 10 out of 10 training program. That's what I
mm,
would say. But like you got to be in the right frame, you got to be a right mindset and ready to work and make changes, and this shit sucks sometimes. It's just
mm,
on the other side you can have that cool life that you maybe wanted, but you're going to be chained to your desk for a little while. You're going to eat shit. It's going to be hard. You're gonna do 1,000 outreach messages and like maybe not get any responses. It's like it's just the game that we're in because like super high highs, super low lows, especially
mm.
for the first little bit. So if you're on the fence, then you probably don't want to change. That's what I would say. That's what I say to people on my sales calls, and I do a lot of fitness training. So it's like then they don't really want to lose the weight. They don't really want to make the change. And that's usually when they commit or don't commit.
I very much vibe with that. I agree. And so if we're gonna end on like a final note, um, if you wanted to give any general advice or any note on your experience in general in the industry, or if it's something that you just kind of want to tell somebody that's maybe a beginner or really anything at all, I'll give you a chance just to leave like a final note.
If you want to make something work, all you have to do is just not stop. That's what I would say. It's like if it's the right things and they're done on a long enough time horizon, they will eventually work. So like we were saying earlier, is like if you want to get better at sales, take more sales calls. If you want to get in shape, hit the fucking gym and eat clean. And like if you want to get better at guitar, play more guitar. It's like just do the thing and just don't stop it until you see the results that you want. And I see just just the day to day, view it as a story, view it as like I have this thing on my YouTube. It's like documenting the Odyssey. It's like this fucking this journey that you're going on. Is you go on this mission and just see this day to day grind as like something kind of romantic that you can look back on and eventually be really proud of. Like once you start to make it, that's what I would say.
It's amazing advice. That's some great final notes. Sweet guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that interview with Braden. I know I did. I think there's a lot of cool takeaways and learnings you probably had from that. And again, this obviously gives you good insight to what it's like in the community with the people that are actually in there that I'm working with. But you also get to see people who are in the space doing the stuff, right? People who are in the trenches with you, trying to achieve the things that you want to achieve or achieving them. So if you resonated with Braden's story and just like all the other case studies, you want to get something similar type results, there's a link down below in the description of the video. There's a type form you go ahead and apply to see if you might be a fit for the community. You may or may not be. We'll have to see. I'll have to have a call with you, with me and my team. But yeah, if you want a similar transformation, you guys know where to find me. So yeah, with that, guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's interview and we'll see you on the next one.